Hello everyone, and we are live with the another episode of This is Tech Talks. And today we have a very special guest, Farzad, joining us. Hey Farzad, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining. Thanks a lot for actually accepting the invite and being here. So appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Very excited.
So Jay, we are back after a week. How are you?
Good. I am back after a couple of weeks, I think. I think I've
Yeah.
missed a couple of these, unfortunately. We're going into the busy time for my company right now, so I'm expecting to mm, hopefully not miss too many, but I'm excited for the ones that we
Yeah.
have coming up this fall.
Nice. I mean, yeah, but it's going to be a busy last quarter, looks like, for everyone.
Yeah.
So,
The world's
yes.
opening back up again, finally, right? So everybody's just busy with everything.
Actually, everyone just wants to be at some conference. So Farzad, what's your plan? I saw you were at some conference recently.
Yeah, me and two of other my colleagues, Jenny and David, we joined React Finland last week, which was based in Helsinki. We had a day of workshops, actually 2 days of workshops, but me and David had an introduction to modeling with the state machines and state charts workshop on a Wednesday, I guess, if I remember correctly, and then Thursday and Friday was conference days.
But you are in Finland, right? If I'm not wrong.
I'm based in Finland, yes, but
Nice.
David and Jenny had to fly in.
That's okay. Difficult for them, not for you.
Yeah. I
Cool.
suppose, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Any upcoming conferences you're talking about?
I'm thinking about getting back on track with advocacy and speaking at conferences. So I'm currently actually have literally like 10 tabs open right now for CFPs until November and December this year. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's see. Hope we can meet somewhere.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, definitely we will meet because although that's like Europe is huge, I think there's still like the community is small, so we'll definitely cross paths. So yeah.
Europe's not that big. Let's be honest here. It's big, don't get me wrong. I live in Canada, so
we can only hope, right?
Yeah. I would like to make it all the way over there one day, but it's a long way for me. It's like probably a 13-hour direct flight. Something
Just
like that.
13 hours. Just 13 hours. I mean, 13 hours is nothing. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, if it's a direct flight, you don't want to be on that in the middle.
You definitely. I don't even think you can get direct flights from where I'm at. You have to like go through Toronto, Vancouver to Toronto, over to Europe somewhere.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that can be tricky.
Yeah, it's a long way. But I want to make it back to Europe at some point for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely sure that if I join like an Angular-based conference at some point, I'm gonna meet both of you guys.
Totally.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, but I'm sure there will be a lot of conferences happening next year. I think it's almost close for this year. All CFPs are almost done. But yeah, let's hope next year.
Great.
Cool. So let's get started. So we are going to talk about Stately. I just did not just, but few months ago I just did polls that okay, I'm going to create some courses on Angular state management, and suddenly someone mentions why not Stately. I was like, okay, but yeah, let's. I have to read about it. So I thought about reaching out to Farzad. So he's the best person who can teach us, right? So yeah.
Actually, I would say the best person to teach you the access state and state charts and everything in the JavaScript community would be David Khorshid, our founder.
Okay.
Oh, hey, David.
Cool. Yeah, but we'll get to know something from you, and then probably it will help me whenever the support for Angular comes in, and probably I can create a course because I'm anyways planning to create multiple courses on Angular state management covering NGRX, effects, NGXS, and all those libraries which are being used in enterprises. So let's hope. Yeah.
Awesome.
So for that, first, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Farzad. I'm based in Finland. Before Stately, I was a lead web engineer at Epic Games. And yes, we had like we had an office here that just included mostly developer, like web development team that worked on the development portal with features such as matchmaking or achievements and stuff that you could use as a part of the SDK in your games if you were like a game studio or a game developer. But I joined the Statelyai about more than, I think a little longer than a year ago. So what happened was that we were a team of passionate people who were working on state management, like using state charts and state machines in the open source. And one day David pulled the trigger, quit Microsoft, got some funding and gathered us as a small engineering team to build the next generation of low-code tooling for modeling with the state machines.
Nice.
Right now I'm a lead engineer in the Statelyai, and my main focus right now, it's a cross-functional team, so we're all over the place, but my main focus these days is to prepare the Visual Studio for the public beta launch. That's very, very soon.
Oh, nice. That's great. So,
That's so exciting.
Farzad, you mentioned two words. So state charts and state machines. So would you like to start from there? What are those? And then we'll talk about X-state and other things.
Sure. So I don't have a computer science background myself, but in the world of computer science, the state machines, finite state machines and state charts are computing units that help you model any sort of behavior or logic using three different keys: events, transitions, and states. So it helps you understand how you can connect the behaviors, how you can connect like different dots together, and how you can transition from one to another, and then collectively all of these will shape like a behavior that you can use in any certain way. So in the world of let's say front-end development, back-end development, or web development in general, you could think of as your UI components, for example, as if they had a behavior. For example, a model component could be open or closed, or a form could be, valid, invalid, or something could be shown or hidden. Of course, real-world examples are a lot more complex than that, but we're just simplifying down to two states only. So that is, so that's basically state machines and state charts. It helps you see the behavior and try to map them into a discrete set of final states, so that you can say, hey, actually, my logic is now at this particular state. And if I, for example, click in this button, or if I receive this event from some external service, I need to be in another state. That's basically finite state machines.
Oh, nice.
Makes sense. So we might be jumping ahead a little bit here, but with Statelyai specifically, or X-state, I guess, is it? I just took a look at the repo, and it looks like there's Vue libraries and React libraries and stuff like that. But can the core functionality of it be platform agnostic? Like, can I use this on any platform that runs on JavaScript?
Yeah. So just to clarify, Statelyai is the team that is working on a set of tools, local tooling for modeling the application logic or software logic visually. But
Gotcha.
X-state is the name of the open source library that powers most of our tooling, and that's going to be open source forever. But to get back to your question, yes, X-state is free, and the core is completely framework agnostic. And in fact, it could be like the whole concept of finite state machines, though their library is implemented in TypeScript, could be also language agnostic.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's a general computer science concept, right? Yeah, totally.
Yeah. For now, we have like official integrations with React, Vue, Solid.js, and Svelte. We don't have any official AngularJS integration, but judging based on how the community is using it with the Angular, due to the nature of subscription-based interpreter of the state machines in X-state, it's just basically 3 or 4 lines of code to just connect them together. It's really easy. In fact, I believe Angular is one of the easiest frameworks to connect to using X-state.
Well, it's probably a really good candidate for it, just because of the deep integration with Arcs.js and observables, right? I imagine that with state machines, you're, reacting to things happening a lot, right? So
it has the same subscription model.
Exactly. Yeah. Makes sense. Cool.
Yeah. So it actually comes down to my next question. What is X-state?
So X-state is the open source library that was created originally by David Khorshid, I think a little longer than 5 years ago. And that's the JavaScript implementation of using finite state machines and state charts in JavaScript. So it's like a library for the JavaScript community to help you build state machines. So the difference between a finite state machine and a state chart, if you might be curious about that, is that a finite state machine is always in one layer. it's always a set of finite states in one layer that share the same life cycle, and you transition between them. But this is not really realistically helpful, because in real world, a state is relational. For example, I want a part of my application to only operate if a certain state is, has happened before, if I am already in that certain state. So you see the relation, you see there's like a hierarchy between different parts of the state. And people saw this. In fact, somebody saw this like about 40 years ago and came up with this academic paper about the state charts to help you scale the idea of finite state machines for modeling real world applications. So that's a kind of like the conceptual difference between these two. But yeah, to get back to your question, XState helps you not only create finite state machines in JavaScript using the library, but also state charts. Gives you like the notions of nested states, parallel states, different primitives, very, very powerful primitives to help you model behavior and logic.
Yeah, I'm looking at the visualizer right now on the website, just like the demo one, and it's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. Because finite state machines, like with finite state machines, you're modeling things up front. You know different states. You know what events will call transition between these states. You kind of have the graph of the logic you need. So you might as well visualize it. In fact, the visualizer that you mentioned, we worked on the version 2 of Visualizer last year, and I think we released it last August, like August of 2021. And yeah, so it helps you paste your state machine configuration as JSON in the web editor there, and then it will visualize everything for you. And in fact, it's interactive, so you can simulate and walk through different paths of your logic that you created.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've never used XState, or I've never really, written finite state machines or anything like that before, but I could definitely see how this would be helpful if I were doing that.
Yeah. I want to mention that one of the benefits of using state machines is that it acts as a common language for different people who have different backgrounds. Like one of the stories that one of my colleagues always mentioned in Epic Games was that the web team was building a logic that kind of had some overlaps with some logic that they had already in Fortnite. So there were game developers and there were web developers, and web developers were trying to implement kind of the same logic that game developers already had in the Fortnite. So they didn't want to figure stuff out. They didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So what they did was that they actually used XState. They used state machines to model that logic, because game developers have been using state machines for decades as well. So they sent this JSON configuration and the visualization of the logic they were creating to the game developers. Those people corrected it, sent it back, and they just used it. So it acts as a common language between different people with different backgrounds. In fact, it could act as a common language between you as a web developer, the designer in your team, the product owner, or anybody else, because anybody understands the picture.
Totally. Yeah, I could definitely see that, because it's completely, implementation agnostic, right?
Exactly. Yes. In fact, you don't have to implement it. You can just use it as a whiteboard or a mind map or a way to think about the problems.
Yeah. A communication tool, or,
Exactly.
a planning tool, or whatever it might be. Yeah.
Exactly. You can use it however you want. Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool.
We had one of our colleagues, Jenny, who talked about making donuts using state machines. She actually gave a lightning talk about that in a local meetup.
I love it. Love
nice. Great topic.
Yeah.
She's a real donuts fan.
Oh.
Yeah, fair. Well, it's always better to, make talks like that when you're talking about something so not heavy might be the wrong word, but involved, like state machines, to make it fun and interesting and easy to digest.
Exactly, and make it tangible for the audience. Yeah, because this could be overwhelming. These concepts usually. Yeah.
Great. I mean, over the discussion, we already came to know that how XState makes the state management easier. So I'm not going to ask that now, because of course it doesn't make sense to discuss that again. But yeah, really interesting concept. But one thing, right? So the state management frameworks or whatever libraries which came into the picture or which came into the existence, So they came from the Flux pattern, right? So Redux is heavily inspired from Flux pattern, and then of course from Redux, NGRX took the inspiration, and there are several libraries which again took the inspiration from Redux. So how the X state is different, or does it gets the inspiration from the Flux or Redux?
I think what XSA does is that it implements the idea of modeling with the state machines and the state charts based on a spec called SCXML. That's the state chart XML version of this standard and this whole concept. I think it's similar to Redux and Zustan in a way that it provides an indirect way of managing the state of a tree of components that you have in your UI. So you try to keep the logic outside of the UI tree. But you can also use XState exactly like those libraries, because like most of the developer experience might be the same. You're just dealing with different primitives, but the whole concept is the same. I mean, once you got like you get past the learning curve and you get familiar with how to model with the state machines and the state charts using XState, then the rest feels like a second nature. You kind of like model everything using the state machines and then get past that, because once you model something, you don't care how it's implemented. It's like a black box to you that you understand and you're done with it. So you get to the UI part. It keeps them separate. Another thing is XState makes it makes your logic declarative, because you can see the logic that you're creating visually, and it's easy to communicate it with other people. Whereas with Zustan or Redux or other alternatives, I'm not going to say it's impossible to visualize the logic, but it's a lot harder. In fact, you could also simulate, which we have it in the visual editor or the visualizer works like that. So you walk the path of the logic that you have. Or what other things that XState helps with, or makes easier, is that we have concepts such as model-based testing with XState/test that helps you generate all the possible paths in the state machine that you created. So you imagine that you're modeling like a checkout process in your application. You start modeling from the home page to the products page, then add to cart, then get back, show similar products, whatever. There's like a lot of UX happening there. You get to the cart, you get to the checkout, you either succeed the checkout or you fail it, you get back, you can do anything. Imagine that convoluted, complex logic. Imagine that you've modeled that using the state charts and you've implemented it with XState. Then XState test will, based on model-based testing concepts, will give you a bunch of utilities to help you generate all the possible paths or the shortest path in your application. It's kind of like querying different paths of a graph. So you can see, hey, this is like, it's possible for me to get from the homepage of my application to the successful state of my checkout through these 4 different paths. So you say, oh, okay, so if these are the 4 paths that are critical because they end up being a successful payment, and that's one of the goals of our business, so we might as well cover them using end-to-end testing, something like that. So we give you the entire path of the states, and in fact, you can also use the same state machine to create a test model and execute Cypress tests, Jest test, React test, and library test, whatever you want. So XState makes it easier in those ways.
Wow. I mean, this sounds really amazing. I think I'm going to give it a try.
I'm going to assure you this might be too good to be true, but it's actually true.
Actually,
What
I'm still wondering. I mean, how is this possible? I mean, but yeah, once I see this, I'm going to believe. I believe you, anyways. But yeah,
Of course, yeah. But you can check it on your own. You can always go to xstate.js.org. Oh my God, I don't even remember the URL. But I think it's xstate.js.org.
Nope.
Yes, xstate.js.org. Yes, and you will see different links there. But
xstate.js.org.
yeah. And then you can go to the docs, check out the docs yourself. You can either read them on the README of the GitHub repository or read them on the documentation. And all of these are explained there. The integration with the testing and the graph utilities and everything is also there. But we're also working on beta docs. Version 2 of the docs. Our very own Laura Callback is working on that. And we're hoping that we would release the new docs very soon, probably in a month or so.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to dig into this. We're going through a small update on our checkout process right now. And while we're not rebuilding what we have for a state machine, we're going to want to do it at some point. And this is definitely something I'm gonna bring up with the team to look at.
Yeah, you can definitely take an incremental approach to that. You can adopt it incrementally and try to just isolate one part of the problem. Try to get yourself familiar with the concepts of the state machines and state charts. Then learn the API of XState. Use that for solving that particular problem. Then see all the trade-offs and everything. Try to integrate it into your React application or Vue application or anything, and then try to spread that to other parts of the application.
Makes sense.
But it's not like that you have to use it on the front end. In fact, you can use it at any layer of the stack you want.
Yeah.
Also, okay, so
anywhere
I
JavaScript
can.
runs, basically.
Okay, okay. So I can just move it and take it at Next.js and write my APIs.
Of course, yeah. Any JavaScript runtime can execute XState. So
Wow, that's
yeah,
that's nice. Yep. So I think we spoke about XState. Let's talk about Stately now. I mean, I was really impressed once I opened that visualizer and I was able to actually drag, drop, and then I was able to see the code as well. So let's give us some information about that.
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, we are a small team of engineers, designers, and other stakeholders. Where I believe we're only 9 people right now. And so our goal as a Stately is to build local tooling on top of our core XState library, which is open source forever, to empower any stakeholders of your product team to be able to contribute to building the logic of the product they're building visually. So our goal is to increase the velocity of delivery and shipping in product teams by empowering you by local tooling that help you visually model things. And we're aiming at doing this collaboratively. So imagine live share of VS Code and how you can code together in a pair programming session. We want that exact same experience to happen on our web editor for different stakeholders to contribute to the same graph, to the same diagram. You diagram together. And another goal of ours is to put the diagrams as a single source of truth. So when products grow and scale, usually one of the problems is how you maintain the tests and how you babysit them. Another problem is how documentation, if they are existent, they go stale very fast because they're tightly coupled to the code, and it feels really, really redundant to cater all of them at once. Whereas in Stately, we think these testing and documentation are different reflections of the same model that you create using your diagram. So we want you eventually to diagram your problems and to be able to export it to Markdown, to be able to export it to screenshots and PNG for documentation, to even generate documentation or tests based on the model-based testing concept that we talked about, and export it to different things like export to JavaScript, export to TypeScript, export to JSON. So you diagram once, you solve your problem there once, and you might as well just use it everywhere. That's our core goal at Stately. And by doing this, we believe that we can increase the velocity of delivery and shipping product teams.
Believe me, I mean, I've been writing code since like 14 years now, and I could really say, wow, that's the only word I can use. I mean, whatever you have described so far, let it be X-State or Stately, only word is wow, because I can see so many issues which I have faced like in 14 years could have been resolved. So,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we deserve better tooling for sure. Yeah,
true.
Yeah, making do with some mediocre tooling for quite a while for sure.
That's true. Yeah, I think we waste our time a lot on, let's say, things that does matter, whereas we should just be spending our precious time on solving product problems, solving problems that actually matter to the end users of our products, to help make web better. Another thing that I wanted to say is that I came up with the example of live share in VS Code extension, but if you're not familiar with that, for the designer folks who are watching this, imagine Figma and live collaboration and live designing on Figma. What we want that for application logic in our visual editor. We want that exact same easy way to collaborate and contribute to the same thing on our web editor. In fact, we are seeking so many integrations. We actually have a backlog of plan for the next 5 years, and we're running out of time trying to implement all these ideas and kind of sort them into meaningful milestones for the next 5 years. Because there are a lot of exciting problems to solve at Stately, and most of the problems we're solving are hard or are like, in uncharted territories. There are not many prior art to the problems that we're solving. So it's exciting and terrifying at the same time. And everybody is trying their best to ship as fast as we can. And believe me, we ship real fast for a team of 9.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I love fast moving teams. Ours is a really fast moving team too. But what Stately's trying to solve here is still one of the slower areas, right? It's just communicating around complex systems.
Yeah, and it's really tricky to get it right because product teams tend to work differently. So we've got to have to find a common ground that works for everybody. And we have different types of audience: designers, business developers, service designers, UX developers, actual like the engineers who are implementing. And, even the CEO of a company should be able to contribute to the same product that everybody's building. And it gets a lot more complex when you try to cross-reference different products and have different services talk to each other. And there's absolutely no reason for you to not be able to model the problems of your application at different layers at the same time. I want to be able, like my vision as a person who's working in Statelyai is to be able to use the same tooling to model my UI component next to my workflow, next to my some durable object in the cloud, next to some serverless function, next to my, I don't know, like backend who's running like a workflow, next to my CI. All of them are basically can be solved using state machines. They're basically a bunch of sequences, states, events, and transitions. So there's absolutely no reason that I can't use the same tool to fix them all at the same time.
Yep, true.
Makes sense. Yep.
And everyone understands the diagrams.
Yeah,
exactly.
You don't actually need any background in diagramming of flowcharts or anything. As long as you're familiar with pen and paper, you're good.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jay, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, what's next? So where are we going with Stately? Like you talked about integrations with other platforms, collaborative editing, stuff like that. Helping it work for people all along the product stack, right? But what else do you guys have planned? Like, is there anything else, or is that pretty much taking up 100% of your time?
Well, the ideation channel on our private Discord is blowing up every day. And, it's a problem that has both depth and breadth. So we're trying to find a sensible way for our team to tackle both of these aspects at the same time. I mean, we want to work on all these exciting ideas. We want to be able to achieve whatever we're imagining it and is in our vision. But to be honest with you, we all need to focus right now to get the V1 of the visual editor out, because that will be the core engine of all the other features that we're trying to build in the next coming years. So yeah,
makes sense.
Basically, our main focus right now is the visual editor and our registry. Basically, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that we have a registry. You've seen him npm, right? You upload your packages, your JavaScript packages there. People can install it. We basically have the same thing that we call a registry, where you create projects, you create machines in the projects, and you can make them public if you want for other people to later on be able to fork them. Actually, they can fork it right now, but to be able to import them into their state machines, because state machines can also have children, and those can be also state machines.
Yeah. And a lot of state machines across applications and use cases are the same or similar.
Exactly. Right? Like sending email is the same logic regardless of what platform it uses.
Yeah, exactly. Makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah, but be aware that when you enter this world, it's both a curse and a blessing. I mean, it's a blessing in a sense that you feel like you have so much potential power to solve any problem, and you have kind of like I don't want to say golden hammer, but you kind of have a golden hammer, and everything looks like a nail. But at the same time, it's a curse, because you start thinking about state machines everywhere. Actually, when I look at my coffee machine here, I see a state machine. when I look at my
course.
garage, I see a state machine. And it's a little terrifying. It kind of feels like the rise of the machine.
That's amazing. So just one question, Farzad. So I was actually exploring this Stately AI visual editor because it's in beta. So
Yeah.
it asked me to connect my GitHub account. Probably that's for authentication, right?
Yeah.
And then I created some state machines, and then where it uploads it. Do you have your own personal cloud, or how is it? I'm just want to understand.
Yes. So if you save a state machine right now in the visual editor, it goes
Mhm.
into a registry that I mentioned.
Ah, okay.
And for now, it's public, but we are shipping features before the public launch that will help you mark them as unlisted or private.
Okay.
But private comes with a subscription, and we have a subscription model that we're cooking in for the launch.
Ah, okay. Now understood.
Yeah, but you don't have to use the web editor directly to be able to create the state machines using our product. In fact, there's a VS Code extension that has a bidirectional algorithm baked in that helps you not only be able to write the code that generates the diagram at the same time for you, but also to be able to diagram using the very same visual editor and writes the code for you at the same time. So the workflow on the web might look like you're modeling something, diagramming using our product, and then exporting to like JSON or JavaScript. But using the visual editor, focusing on the developer audience that we have right now, it kind of can write the code for you. And it has TypeScript integration. We're using our typegen and everything. So it kind of gets most of the job done for you.
Cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, but the VS Code extension, the machines you're writing using that, there's no concern about privacy or everything because we don't save anything. It's local to your own project.
Yeah.
And we're actually planning the GitHub integration. So later on, you could pull out like an entire GitHub repository as your project, and we will discover machines, index them, and you can kind of cross-reference and send machines between different machines in your project. So these are like plans for the next year probably. But it's going to get a lot easier and a lot more involved with your workflow.
Yeah, I mean, now I can see you have like task for 5 years now. I think more than 5 years.
Yeah, we're barely scratching the surface right now.
Yeah, sounds like you guys have a lot of really cool ideas to work on and not enough time to implement all of them.
Exactly, right? I mean, that's what I said at the beginning. Yeah. But I'm glad that you guys think that there's potential here, and we're set on the right path here. We want to hear it from other people. It's kind of validating to hear that we're actually solving problems people have. So whenever you think like you're having this problem and you feel like you want to tell us, just drop by and tell us. We actually have a Discord community originally made for users of X Estate, but right now everybody using anything Stately is there, and it's at discord.gg/xestate.
Nice.
I mean, of course, I would be really interested to contribute in any ways possible for the Angular library in case you're working on it. I think Jay would be
we're friendly. Just drop by, drop your idea, drop the bomb, and go. Somebody will pick it up.
Nice.
That's nice. So, Jay, you have any questions?
No, I think we're just we're coming up on end of time, but there's just a couple more things. So I couldn't really see it on the website, but pricing for enterprise, or is it all open source, or like what's your guys' model here for that?
So the subscription model that we're breaking right now and will come out really, really soon has a community package, which is going to make it free. Probably some love for open source and our current community. Then there's going to be a teams model. So these are like work in progress, so they might change. But like there's going to be a community package, a team package per seat, and then there's going to be enterprise package.
Cool.
Yeah.
That makes
sense.
So
it's basically pay as you go, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. We already talked about the future of it quite a bit. Sounds like the future's bright, as long as you guys can get all the work done.
Fingers crossed.
But what's your favorite feature of Stately?
Oh, that's a hard question.
Pick one. You only get one.
All right. I feel like I'm a 4-year-old kid waiting for trying to pick up this Christmas.
All of these presents in front of you. What one do you pick?
I would say my favorite feature, and at Stately and like among all of our tooling right now is visually diagramming. I find it really powerful, to be honest. It might sound a little weird, but we actually use our own product internally to build the features for the same product. So we have like an absolute recursive dogfooding happening there. And I love that because it's like, I mean, we go on like a out of the blue stream, impromptu stream with David, try to use the same product, model a feature for the same product, and community drops in the middle of the stream, says, oh, actually, you're doing it this way because I can see it from the diagram. You better do it this way. Everybody contributes. It feels like everybody is chipping in and we're all building the same thing. And it's amazing. I love that feeling. That's my favorite thing about Stately.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. Love it.
In fact, the React Finland talk last week that I had included live diagramming using the VS Code extension I mentioned. And the extension was writing the code for me on the stage. We had like a storybook and we were modeling like an interactive list component with DOM events and everything. And we had some hiccups along the way. And one of the MCs of the conference came on the stage, helped me diagram the problem I was diagramming and practice beforehand. And we got to do it. It was like a mob programming, like an unplanned mob programming. It was amazing. It kind of made the point because I wanted to tell everybody that, hey, everybody understands this with no background in state machines. And she came up and helped me and just proved the point.
That's so cool. It's very cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, is there anything that you want to promote that we haven't talked about yet? Anything you want to shout out or share? You talked about the Discord community. Anything else?
I would say, please reach out to us on Twitter or check out our official account on Twitter. It's Statelyai on Twitter. I'm pretty sure you'll find us if you search. And yeah, and definitely go, to stately.ai because we have links to almost all of our products. Check out Exastate. That's all the things that I want to promote, basically.
Great.
Check us out. That's all.
That's nice.
Totally.
And we, by the way, something else. I'm sorry. We have office hours every week, every Friday, and there is a stately.ai YouTube channel that you can follow to get notified about them. I don't know the exact time in like the Eastern time, but it's at 5 p.m. It's at 4 p.m. CET every Friday, and we try to live stream on YouTube and try to demo what we're building every week. So you can check that out if you're looking for some inspirations or you're going to help us shape the future.
Awesome. Great. Well,
thank you.
Santosh, closing notes?
Yep, sure. So thanks again, Farzad, for joining us. And it was, I mean, it was like, I was very excited when you were talking about all this, which was like, wow, I mean, what if this feature was available earlier? But yeah, I'm really like rooting for you all at Statelyai, so you can actually deliver all those features. And I would love to actually try everything you mentioned from the X-Rate to Statelyai, and hope we can contribute in some way or other.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me and giving me this opportunity to promote what we're building and talk excitedly about what we're building. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thanks again, Jay, for joining. And we'll be back with another episode next week, and probably we'll take another week gap because I'm traveling. So if Jay is available, probably he'll be able to drive it. But yeah, we'll see you again next week for as of now. See ya. Bye-bye. Yeah. So yeah, we got some feedback. Great work, guys. Keep rocking. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.